I'm somewhere in the middle, try to find myself again. But life is one big riddle of the future and what's been. Guess it's the way it goes, and I will never know why you let me go. Look to the left, look to the right, nothing can stop me in the night, like I am leaving all the bad stuff and trying to remain so strong. I know it's good if I'm alone. I got it, I gotta go, 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 running into better times. Go, 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 from my emotions I'll go, 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 running into better times, to better times, to better times, to better times, to better times. Remember I was laughing in all the photos that you took, but now it looks like acting, like we were fiction in a book. Guess it's the way it goes, and I will never know why you let me go. Look to the left, look to the right, nothing can stop me in the night, like I am leaving all the bad stuff and trying to remain so strong. I know it's good if I'm alone. I got it, I gotta go, 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 running into better times. Go, 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 from my emotions I'll go, 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 running into better times, to better.
Hello. Welcome to the final day of content. I am so excited, and I'm so excited that you're here tonight. Can you drop an emoji in the comments so I can make sure that I can see you all? I am like freaking out. Can you believe it has been a whole week that we've spent together? That is insane. That is insane to me. We have spent, this will be our 5th day. We'll have spent 5 hours, friends. 5 hours on this content and this education, and I am freaking stoked to be here for the final night of content. Do not worry, there is still Monday of a hot seat coaching day. Think of that as question and answer that you get to control. Okay, you get to send any and all questions in that you want answered, and that will be the focus of Monday. Okay, I'm so excited for our final night of content though. So drop an emoji in the comments if you are here, whether you are watching live on the replay. I just love being able to see that you're here. Funny story for tonight. Most nights that I go live, I have a candle in my space of just like kind of like a ritual before I begin going live. I don't know. It's like a sensory thing. I don't know. Whatever it is. Okay. The candle that I have lit right now is titled Come Together. And I feel as though it's very symbolic for the content we've been discussing this week. It also smells incredible. It's so good. It's so good. So be sure to drop some emojis in the comments that you can see me. Pound the heart button so it bumps it up for the people that are not yet getting this notification. Notifications in here have been really weird this time. For some reason, I'm actually going to tag everyone really quick to make sure the notifications just have not been working well this time. And I don't know why that is. I don't know. Facebook. What is wrong with you? Let's see. Let me get everyone tagged here really quick. Yeah, I was laughing really hard, Dixie, when I decided that was the scent for tonight. When I chose that one, it made me laugh pretty hard. All right. Okay. Welcome to tonight. I am so freaking proud of you for showing up all week, whether that's live or in the replays. Irrelevant, that you have chosen to show up this week. You are prioritizing not only your well-being and your story around sex and pleasure. That's perfect. But also prioritizing what your family needs. And I'm so freaking proud of you for choosing to participate, because I know that if you did not know me coming into this, you probably were a little skeptical about what this workshop would be like and what content I would be sharing and in what way I would be sharing it. And skepticism is allowed in this space. Okay. So I'm grateful that you have chosen to trust me and chosen to show up. I'm so, so proud of you. Sip of water. My voice is going, maybe because I've been talking for so many hours this week. Who knows? Who knows? I can assure you my husband would be probably rather pleased if I lost my voice for a couple days. Irrelevant. He loves me so much, I promise. All right, so tonight is day 5, and we are going to be discussing preparing for peer relationships, romantic relationships, and how to create a household knowledge of consent. Okay. We've talked about consent a lot this week, but I think it is the basis of all of these conversations. So I want to make sure that we've dove deep into it so that you have a really good, clear understanding. Okay. So those of you that are new or have not yet seen my face and you just decided to hop on live tonight, welcome. Hello. I am Liz Martin. I am a sex positive parenting coach, a certified sex educator, and a certified doula. I am the founder and CEO of Empower the Talk. Everything that I do, all the work that I do in my life revolves around sexual health, consent, pleasure, safety. Okay, that is the basis of all of my conversations in my work life. My background is as a social worker, and I had a lot of these conversations with my clients, and Empower the Talk grew out of a space of necessity, that there were not resources out there or accessible resources out there to continue supporting in this dialogue and continue supporting in these conversations. So Empower the Talk was birthed from this space of there's nothing else out there that comes from an inclusive, comprehensive, consent, pleasure-focused basis. Okay. So very much proud and excited of the work that I get to do and creating that dialogue and that space. This week, we've dove deep into a lot of topics and a lot of conversations. And I know that based on the messages that you've all been sending me and the conversations that we've been having behind the scenes, that you are leaving this space feeling more empowered to have those tough conversations, both with yourself, with a partner, or with your kids. That you feel more empowered and more educated on these topics, and that you are being given the education basis that you need to do it well. All of these workshops, all of these days had a very specific focus, and you have poured into them. Okay. I told you on the very first day that this is a mutual space. I promise to show up with incredible free resources for you to gain this education, but you have to be willing to participate, and you have to be willing to let that sink in and dive in. And you've done that. You have done that. And I'm so, so proud of you for holding this space. So tonight, with our final topic that we're discussing, you're going to learn a framework for addressing peer relationships, how to identify a healthy relationship and then the signs of abuse, how to set expectations and boundaries, using gender inclusive language and the importance of that, and how to communicate consent. Okay, so we are going to dive right in tonight and make sure that I can get through everything. All right, so when we're talking about a framework for addressing peer relationships, I think it is really common for both us as beings and us as parents. I can't handle this glare. I can't handle seeing it. For both us as beings and us as parents, that we put a lot of weight on romantic relationships. A lot of weight, right? But I think that conversation should be shifted to just relationships in general, not a romantic relationship, but just relationships in general. We want our kids to have healthy relationships. That includes healthy friendships, right? We learn what a healthy friendship looks like in order to potentially have a healthy dating relationship, right? If we're having really negative, consuming friendships or abusive friendships, it's pretty likely that is going to continue into a dating dynamic. So I want us to take it down to the base of what it looks like to just have a healthy relationship, even if that is not a romantic one. So I want to start by defining what a healthy relationship is and being able to give you language to use with your children or with yourself as you start this process of reparenting yourself. And maybe you didn't grow up in a home where there were healthy relationships. Maybe that wasn't something that you experienced. Maybe the visual of healthy relationships, you have no idea where to begin in that, okay? Sip of water so I don't continue losing my voice. So when we're looking at a healthy relationship, it's important that you explain that a healthy relationship comes from respect, mutual understanding, trust, honesty, communication, and support. Write these down. I'm going to say them again. Respect, mutual understanding, trust, honesty, communication, and support. That goes for any relationship dynamic, right? That is the basis of what a healthy relationship looks like. A healthy friendship, a healthy dating relationship, a healthy marriage, a healthy partnership. All of that goes into that space. The core basis of a healthy relationship is that you're respecting the other individual, that it's a mutual understanding that you're carrying, that it's rooted in trust and honesty, that you're able to have open communication and support for each other. That is huge. And so often we just ask about like who their best friend is at school, right? Like, we just hear the name or whatever. Do we have the conversations about how do you feel your friend understands you? Or what does that look like to you? What does it look like for your friend to be understanding of you? What does communication look like between the two of you? How do you feel supported by your friend? Having those conversations, because when we start with that basis of what a healthy friendship looks like, we are easier and better able to have those same conversations in a dating relationship. Okay. Answer this question in the chat. Your very first partnership, whether that was dating, whatever it was, whatever you referred to it as, do you feel that it was healthy? Do you feel that it was healthy? Do you feel like your first dating experience was healthy? Yes or no? I can say that I know without a shadow of a doubt that my first dating experience was not healthy. There was not this basis of mutual understanding or respect. There was not this basis of honesty. There was not open communication. There was not mutual support. What did your first relationship look like? Do you feel that it was healthy or not? Yes or no in the comments. I think that all beings are able to grow and learn and create new dynamics and relationships without a doubt, right? But if we set our children up in this space of really truly knowing what a healthy relationship is and hopefully modeling that, right? Like the goal is that we ourselves are in a healthy relationship, whether it's with ourselves as a solo individual or in some kind of partnership. The goal is that we're modeling that. Right? But it starts with those conversations around what a healthy relationship is. Okay, so far, I don't see a single yes in the comments. And that's unfortunately really normal, right? Like you got teenage hormones and, you know, all that nonsense going on. So it's normal, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be the norm. It doesn't have to be the experience that just because it's your first boyfriend or your first girlfriend or your first partner that it's going to be unhealthy. We're able to have these conversations and model healthy relationships when you're an askable parent, when there's open lines of communication between you, okay? So starting with defining what a healthy relationship is. And then I also think that it is very important to have conversations around what abuse looks like or the warning signs of abuse. Okay. Because I had the experience with my first partner that there were so many fucking red flags and I was oblivious to all of them, right? Like I also know that I'm not alone in that experience, that there are many types of abuse. And oftentimes we view abuse as strictly physical, right? Like if somebody's pinning you to a wall and punching you in the face, that's abuse. But there's actually a lot broader view of what abuse is. And I think it's important to know that both for yourself as a being and the partnerships that you may or may not be in, but being able to communicate that with our young people of what abuse actually looks like and what the red flags of that are. Okay. So number one, abuse. These could include physical, emotional, sexual, financial, digital abuse, as well as stalking. All of that lines up under the category of abuse, okay? So let's dive into those a little bit more. Physical abuse. This is kind of the one that we think of the most and know the most of a person using physical force to harm another. So things like hitting, kicking, pushing, biting, choking, or using weapons as a form of physical abuse. Our brains very clearly see that as abuse most times, right? But when we dive into the other ones, those are where it gets a little bit more gray for most people of like, oh, is it? I don't know. So having these conversations, both with yourself in your partnerships and with your youth. So emotional abuse can take the form of insults, humiliation, degradation, manipulation, or intimidation. Emotional abuse can also involve forced isolation, coercion, or the use of fear or guilt to control or belittle. That's a really broad definition, and a lot of things fall into that. And I know that my first dating relationships, there were many of those things happening, and I would not have defined it as abuse then, right? Degradation, humiliation, manipulation, intimidation, or involved forced isolation, coercion, or the use of fear or guilt to control or belittle. That's all emotional abuse. Okay. Sexual abuse, any acts that directly or indirectly impact a person's ability to control their own sexual activity and the conditions surrounding it. It may take forms in including forced sexual activity, using other means to abuse or pressure one into the activity, coercion, or restricting access to condoms or birth control. That's sexual abuse. If your partner is saying, I hate condoms so much that I'm unwilling to wear one, we're going to have sex without it, and you are not consenting to sex without the use of condoms, that's sexual abuse. You have the power to say what you're consenting to and what you're not. And you're allowed to set boundaries around that. Financial abuse. Financial abuse is a form of emotional abuse, but that uses money or material items as a means of power or control over the other person. So perhaps it looks like a partner gifted you a beautifully expensive necklace, ring, some type of jewelry, whatever, or the reverse of something, a car or whatever it was, right? They gifted this to you, but then they hold that over you. And they say, if you ever break up with me, that's mine. Like, I'm taking that back. Right? Emotional abuse goes into it with finances, or a partner that doesn't allow you access to any of the finances because they don't want you to see what's happening there. That's financial abuse. Or you don't have access to any of the income of the family. Say you're a stay-at-home parent, or you are a parent that works inside the home and another parent works out of the home. but you don't have access to any of that joint account or any of the money. That's financial abuse. Digital abuse is another form of emotional abuse, but using technology. So a person may use social media, texting, or other technological means to intimidate, manipulate, harass, or bully someone. I think for those of us that are millennials, we've been pretty in tuned to what social media is. And I know for me specifically, at the age that I'm at, I believe I first got access to social media in some capacity of MySpace. Okay. That was my first social media experience in high school. I want to say, I think it was high school before I had access to social media of having my MySpace. My top 5 friends or top 8, whatever I was feeling that day. Social media rules our lives in a lot of ways. In some ways that can be very positive, and in some ways that can be really, really challenging. And then when we think about that from a underdeveloped teenage brain, even more so. Okay. I am somebody that uses social media a lot to brand myself and market myself as this resource being available. Right. But I have gotten so many hate comments on the content that I share, and individuals that believe certain things about me based on the things that I talk about that really hurt me. Right. And I'm a grown ass woman that can handle it. But our teens aren't that, right? And how much of an impact that is of hearing language about them or being harassed on social media or being bullied on social media. That is digital abuse. Stalking is a form of persistent harassment, monitoring, following, or watching of another person. These behaviors can be difficult for a teen to recognize because they may come off as flattering, or being the other person is engaging in such behaviors out of love, right? So as teens, we have this view of like, oh my God, they're so in love with me. That's why they want to be around me all the time and know exactly where I am all the time. And they want to keep me safe. But it's actually stalking. Okay. So another important piece of what this looks like then in the context of relationships is being aware and exploring the difference between infatuation and love. Type this in the comments. Have you ever thought about the difference in those two words, infatuation and love? Infatuation and love. Distinguishing between infatuation and love can be difficult for most adults. I talked to many adults about this. Imagine how complicated it is for a young person who is exploring many new feelings for the first time. Right? Like we as adults can often get blinded into new relationship energy if we start dating somebody new or we are engaging with another party, whatever it is. We can get caught in new relationship energy of like, I want to see this person every single day. I just love spending time with them. I am obsessed with everything about them. That's infatuation, right? Imagine what it's like for your teen who is feeling these things for the first time and not able to at all distinguish between what infatuation is and what love is. This is also not exclusive to romance, not exclusive to a dating dynamic. Do you remember your best friend in middle school or even your best friend in high school? You told them everything. And you wanted to be at their house every single day. I have this distinct memory of sitting at the bottom of my steps with a phone that was attached to the wall and had like a 20-foot cord on it, okay? Sitting there and calling my friend every day after school because we had to talk about all the things and we didn't ride the same bus. And so we had to talk through everything that happened that day. It's not exclusive to dating. It happens with friendships too. And so being aware of infatuation. Infatuation and love are not the same. Infatuation may give us those butterfly or goosebumps feelings that I can't eat, I can't sleep type of feeling, but it's not the same as love. Love takes time to grow. It's not you see them once, you're like, oh my God, I'm in love. I am in love with that person. You may be infatuated, you may be attracted, but you're not yet in love because love takes time to grow, whereas infatuation may happen almost instantly. There is not, this isn't about it being right or wrong, okay? It's not about turning off infatuation. It's not that infatuation is bad. It is simply an awareness of emotions, an awareness of what infatuation feels like, and an awareness of what love feels like. That is all this is, okay? We're not going to tell our youth like, "Oh, you're infatuated right now. Stop doing that." No, it's an emotion and they're allowed to feel that emotion, and that emotion is valid. Okay? But an awareness of the two and how they are different. So then with that, what does it look like to set boundaries and expectations around that? It's important to set boundaries and expectations now regarding your teen dating or being with other peers. Okay? I encourage you to not wait to have a boundary and expectation conversation till they first start dating. That should be happening already. Okay? If there are rules that you have in your home, they should be across the board. Friendships, dating, doesn't matter, it should be across the board. Let your teen know any rules you may have, such as curfews, restrictions on who they are with and why, conversations around money and being paid for or paying for said activities, and other stipulations you may have. Give your teen an opportunity to contribute to the discussion. This makes it a conversation versus a list of rules that you're expecting them to follow. Okay, so really dive into this of what this looks like, right? What values do you sit with around it? What are the expectations that you have? And explore that for yourself and why. Why do you have that value? Why do you have that expectation? Is it because that's what you were expected? So you expect your children to have the same experience? Did you have a curfew and it made you angry sometimes? So you're going to put that same thing on your kid? Right? Whatever it is, there are no right or wrong answers to this. It is exploring why you have that belief that you do around an expectation or boundary, and then making it a dialogue, making it a conversation, right? Share that I would like you to be home by 10:30 p.m. every night because I'm concerned about your safety after that point and driving in the dark and whatever, right? Like give your reasoning. What is your input on that? How do you feel about that curfew? And maybe they have a legitimate reason that X location is open until 11 p.m. and they would like to stay there until close. So would it be an option to make curfew 11 instead of 10:30? Ask them the reason. Ask them for input on what you're setting around expectations and boundaries. This is so much of what we've been talking about this week, that creating a sex positive environment isn't about setting these rules that you expect them to follow and be obedient to. It's about creating open dialogue and being an askable parent, but that also means that you have to be vulnerable with them. You have to share what your fears are. You have to share what comes up for you in the thoughts of them dating or being out with a friend that late, right? It requires you to be vulnerable. And I think we get into this mindset as parents that we don't have to be vulnerable with our kids because we're the boss. Like we're the one that is in control, right? Because we spend many years being in quite a bit of control over them. And then this shift happens and it's uncomfortable and it's hard and it's scary to shift into that behavior of this being an open dialogue and a conversation that takes place together. Okay. Let's look at the importance of using gender inclusive language and language that remains neutral to sexual orientation as well. Okay. So when you open up the discussion with your teen about relationships and sexuality, use gender inclusive language that remains neutral to sexual attraction. It's not that complicated of a process. I promise you are capable of this. So this could sound like, are you interested in finding a partner? Okay, not assuming the sex or orientation of who that partner is. Are you interested in finding a partner? Are you interested in dating a partner? Rather than assuming that your teen has a preference for just the opposite sex, deliver the language with genuine openness and love. This is all about being an askable parent, because when you allow for them to express themselves to you by creating open and safe dialogue, they're more willing to share that. Maybe you already know because they've already said it, but using gender inclusive language allows them an opportunity to think about that and an opportunity to feel safe opening up to you. By opening up the possibility of being attracted to any gender right away, you will not only make it easier for your teen to be open with you about their sexual orientation, but you will likely make your teen feel more comfortable in their identity, regardless of who they choose to date, right? Maybe they are somebody that presents as a woman and is a woman based on their genitals, and they're attracted to a man. But you've given them an opportunity to view that inclusively, to view that in a way of like, it's safe to share if maybe that's not the way I identify. Or maybe if I have other pronouns that feel safer for me. Or maybe the individuals that I'm attracted to aren't the opposite sex. Or maybe I'm currently talking to somebody who is non-binary and I don't know how to explain that. So by creating an open space of inclusivity, you allow for that conversation to be safe. You allow for them to be able to communicate with you without fear of judgment, without fear of disappointment, without fear of how your emotions will be affected by this. It's really easy to break it down to, are you interested in dating? Are you interested in finding a partner? That's it. So what does it look like to communicate consent? Everything that I've talked about this week revolves around this basis of consent and is a core value of Empower the Talk. Consent. Consent is a really hot word and has been for a while, based on various things happening in social media, based on various things in news outlets, and with the concept of rape culture, where things get dismissed really easily. And then having a legal system with flaws when it comes to reporting and seeking justice with sexual assault. Consent matters. Consent matters. Consent is something that is necessary for a lot of everyday conversations, not just sex. I think that we often correlate consent to being with sex, and it's not. Consent is way more inclusive than that. Consent is a life skill. Type that in the comments. Consent is a life skill. We are acknowledging that permission from another person is required in order to move forward. Consent is a life skill. So what does consent sound like? What does it sound like? Would you like a hug? May I take your picture? Is it okay if I tell Papa what you shared with me in the car? They said no. No one has to say no more than once for the boundary to be respected. That's how you can advocate for a younger child that may not have all the words yet, but they've they've said no. So you get to be their voice in that, and you get to support them in making sure that consent is followed. They said no, and no one has to ask more than once for their boundary to be respected. Would you like help with that? I think sometimes as those of us that identify in more of the nurturing aspect, we want to jump in, we want to help. We see that they're struggling. Or for my child that is trying to get their shoes on by themselves, right? We see that they're struggling, and so we want to jump in and we want to fix it and we want to make it better. But it's important that we ask consent. We need to ask them if they want help, because they are in the process of learning a new skill right there. And maybe they are really motivated to learn that skill and want to feel that accomplishment of doing it themselves. Right? The whole I can do it by myself phase. How many of you have kids that are in that phase of like, no, I can do it by myself. I got this. I don't need your help. I don't want your help. Would you like help with that? Listen closely to this one. When you do not seek consent, you are assuming someone else's needs, wants, or feelings. I'm saying that again. Listen close. When you do not seek consent, you are assuming someone else's needs, wants, or feelings. For our littler ones, this can look like modeling consent in front of others. Please do not touch them. You did not ask. Right? How many have had a baby out in the grocery store and you have a very sweet, older, probably grandma coming up and wanting to touch your baby and touch them and get all close. I think COVID helped us a little bit with that for those of us that had babies in COVID, but wanting to be in their space. Do not touch them. You did not ask. Model consent. Consent is important in our family. Saying that phrase. Reminding of that phrase. It can also look like walking your child through what you are doing while still being aware of body language. So those that have really little ones that are not verbally communicating yet, I have to change your diaper to keep your body safe. I'm going to lay you down, take the used diaper off, and then replace it with the dry one, right? They are not able to verbally respond in a consent way, right? And there are things that we have to do as parents in order to keep our children safe, like buckling them into a car seat. It's not safe to ride around with your buckles off. Buckling them into a car seat. So talking them through what you're doing. It's my job to keep you safe, and the car seat keeps you safe. So I'm going to buckle this here. I'm going to snap this here, right? Make it as playful as you can, but we have to do that. We have to change their diaper. We can't leave them in a wet diaper all day long, right? That's not safe for their body. So saying, I have to change your diaper to keep your body safe. I'm going to lay you down, take off the used diaper, then replace it with a dry one. Walk them through the process. Giving language of consent. So when they are at more of that early toddler, preschool, kindergarten age, using language like, you are the boss of your body. If you don't want to hug, that's your decision. This came up really beautifully in my home. I do a lot of advocacy work around bodily autonomy, and I live in the state of Indiana, and there is a lot of things happening around women's rights and women's autonomy. I had the honor of being at the State House advocating for laws to be respected and changed in order to advocate for women's bodies, and that we get to decide what happens to our bodies. And within that conversation, it was heartbreaking and beautiful to be able to talk to my 4-year-old about what was happening. I actually did a previous training on this. So if that is something that you're interested in watching of what it looks like to have those conversations with a younger child, I'm more than happy to share that training. But having conversations with her around this, that sometimes laws are set up in a way that they don't respect our bodies. And my toddler is able to so beautifully say, but I'm the boss of my body. I get to decide what happens to my body. A 4-year-old who's been raised in a sex-positive home is able to say that and understand that no legal body has the right to make that decision over her body. And that she is able to say, I am the boss of my body. I love creating this space for these conversations because there's not a lot of safe spaces out there to talk about sex positivity, to talk about what it looks like to create a sex positive home and the benefit of that, the benefit and the outcome that can happen when we create dialogue around this. And we set our young people up for success in this, of having language to say, I'm the boss of my body. You did not ask my consent. You do not get access to my body. That they have understanding around what healthy relationships look like and what pleasure is, and that they're allowed to explore pleasure and how to do it safely. I know that despite emotions that come up for me, it looks like I am highly skilled at these conversations and that I know how to talk about all of them. But that did not happen overnight. That was not an overnight process for me. It actually took over 20,000 hours of practice during both my time as a social worker and my time in coaching clients through these tough conversations, in my time working with individuals both in their own story around sex and pleasure, and working with parents as they navigate these conversations with their young people. I have shared with you in the previous nights that I value creating space around access to safe, supportive, and medically accurate information. And I have shared with you my 2 signature programs that are now accessible to you. I have not had the doors open to my one-on-one coaching program since April, and I get giddy about new faces coming into that space and new stories and new opportunities to rewrite those stories. Inside of my one-on-one coaching program, you get 6 months of deeply healing work to rewrite that narrative. Pleasure is your birthright. When you walk out of those 6 months, I can assure you that you will have a better understanding of what pleasure means to you, how to advocate for your own pleasure, how to communicate with current or future partners your needs, wants, and desires in a way that feels mutually safe. That you have an opportunity to determine what products are best for your body that enhance pleasure. An opportunity to heal from sexual trauma. An opportunity to write a narrative that serves you well. Inside of Empower the Talk, you will get a weekly 30-minute coaching call where we go deep into your personal story. This is not a sift through all the information out there and see what's applicable for you. No, this is you and your story and exactly what your backstory is and why it's there and what comes up and what emotions you're feeling, and an opportunity to rewrite that into a story that serves you well. that it is solely focused on you and who you are as a being in your story. You will also get unlimited Voxer access. This is constant access to me through a messaging app of both voice messaging, texting messages, however works best for you and your brain. You get constant access to me. So when things come up with a partner and you feel triggered by it, I'm there to walk you through that conversation and support you and be the person that's able to support you in that. As you work through past trauma and you need to talk it out, you need to disclose things that are coming up for you, I'm there. As you practice implementing pleasure into your life, like we talked about, what a pleasure practice is, but you need check-ins to create this new habit around pleasure, I'm there. You will also receive an Empower the Talk welcome box, which includes a journal, a workbook, educational resources, and products to enhance your own pleasure. This program is a high level of deeply connective, intimate work that takes place inside the Academy. And because of that, I am only able to take on 5 new clients. If you were to look at the cost of this program and the value of it, those 4 30-minute coaching calls would be a cumulative cost of $588. The month of Voxer access is $297, and that welcome box is $197 of product. The value of this program is over $1,000 per month. But because you've already invested so much into this and you've shown up every night to be a part of this journey and shown up in a way that values this education, for those of you participating in this workshop, I am offering this to you at $489 a month. That is over 50% off of the value of this program. There are pay in full discounts that I offer, and there are also scholarship opportunities. So please do not disqualify yourself. If you feel that this is a step that you're ready to take and you value rewriting this story and you recognize that you need to create a narrative around pleasure being your birthright and that it impacts more than just your sex life, it impacts everything, do not disqualify yourself. I have access to scholarships because of generous donors who see the value in this work and know that it does not just come down to sex. Access to scholarships because they see the impact that this work creates. I encourage you to get on a strategy call with me and do that sooner than later because the pricing is not lasting. On January 15th, that pricing goes up to $569 a month. And if you decide to join us inside of Empower the Talk Academy between now and January 15th, you will also receive a free ticket to my 2023 retreat. There's more details to come on that, but this is a vision, a dream board thing of mine that I'm so excited to finally be able to do and bring to you as an opportunity for a retreat. For those of you that are parents, and you have soaked in the education that is here, but you know you need more. And there are more specific questions that you have and more specific learning that you want to do and how to truly become an askable parent. My virtual course is for you. That is the perfect fit for you. And I'm freaking stoked for this because I'm launching it for the first time ever. A fully virtual work at your own pace course that allows you to leave with all the confidence that you need to be your child's first sex educator. Inside of the Building Sex Positive Homes course, you will receive unlimited access to my app where you go through content in the time frame that works best for you. So it's not set up of like, you need to show up every single night for an hour. No, you get to go through it in a way that works best for your absorption level. Topics that are covered inside of my course are things like consent, bodily autonomy, social emotional connection, anatomy around genitalia, penis and vagina sex, penis and penis sex, anal, oral, puberty, periods, STI barrier methods, relationships, both romantic and peer relationships, pornography, social media, sexting, kink and BDSM, pregnancy, birthing, breastfeeding conversations, gender, sexual orientation, and sexuality. You get all of that and more to work through, all on the go, and is easily accessible through my app. You get to decide when you bring it into your life. You can explore it with a partner. You can use it as a support system right there on your phone as you're having a conversation with your child and need a little bit more support as you're going through it. This course is over $3,000 of content, but the app publishers cannot release it until January 15th. They're doing a lot of work. But they cannot release it until January 15th. So for all of you that are participating in this workshop, I am choosing to offer intro pricing of $99 a month. I encourage you to get on a strategy call with me to see if that is the best fit for you and to see if that is the education route that will work best for you. Note that as soon as my publishers launch the app on January 15th, that price increases to $149 per month. You want to get in on the intro pricing. And if you choose to get in on the intro pricing, you will also gain unlimited Voxer access where you have somebody to chat with you as you're going through that content. So when your child gets off the bus and they're crying because of something a student said to them or harassed them in, you have me there to support you through that conversation as you're learning to talk about abuse versus healthy relationships. When your child gets in their first serious relationship, I'm there to calm your nerves and help you in supporting that conversation and what that conversation can look like. When they're asking questions about bodies and you don't know the answer and you need an expert to fill you in on what they're asking. When you suspect that something isn't right. We talked about those red flags, those warning signs of abuse. And you suspect that something is going on, but you don't know what to say or what to do. You have me there as an expert to walk you through that. You deserve to live a life that you believe pleasure is your birthright. You deserve the space to become a sex-positive parent. Prevention and education are key to all of that. And these signature programs give you the access to truly become confident in that. I have a service for you no matter what your budget is. If you have things that you are ready to begin healing from, schedule a strategy call with me. We can see if we are a good fit for each other and see what comes up for you. I might not be the right person for you, and that is okay. Because in order to do this deeply intimate, connective work, you have to have somebody that you feel safe with. And I'm honored for the clients that have chosen me and see the impact that that is creating for them. I want to put this comment up here, Dixie. Thank you so much. I have been working with Liz, and seriously, she is wonderful and so attentive. Take advantage of everything that is offered. It is a great opportunity to rewrite your story. Every time I read your comments, I start tearing up. You're so sweet. Oh my gosh. I have given you a lot of information tonight, so I want to recap what we have gone over. We've talked about a framework for addressing peer relationships. We've talked about how to identify healthy relationships and then the signs of abuse. How to set expectations and boundaries. Using gender inclusive language and the importance of that, and how to communicate consent. I want to make sure that I announce our giveaway winner for tonight. Thank you for investing this workshop, investing your energy, investing your vulnerability in this space. Kaylee Richardson, you are our winner for tonight, and you are receiving a $1,000 scholarship to Empower the Talk Academy. I am so honored to be able to offer these scholarships, and for those of you that have been participating and showing up. Thank you for spending this week with me. I cannot even express how much it fills me being in this space with all of you and all of the vulnerability and the multitude of messages that I have gotten and the impact that just this 5 days so far has given. It fills me in a way that I cannot even express. I cannot wait though for Monday. Monday is going to be killer with the hot seat coaching. Remember, this is an opportunity for you to ask questions that have come up through this workshop and maybe things that are a little bit more personal to you versus the generality that the workshop holds. Okay. Feel free to private message those to me, text those to me, post them in the comments. All of that is welcomed and safe. You are welcome to ask those questions. Investing this hour that you have each day in this workshop can truly change the narrative around sex in your home for both you and any children in your home. Do not disqualify yourself from this powerful work. I still have 2 more scholarships available, and I would love to talk with you about them. Message me. I want to support you. I'm going to be posting that link again for you to hop on a strategy call with me. I know that times are starting to fill up with that. So if you can't find something that works for you, message me and I will be happy to find space for you. These conversations are important. They're valuable work, and you deserve the opportunity to do this work. I am sending all of the love towards all of you. Thank you so much for participating this week. Use Saturday and Sunday to catch up on any sessions that you may have missed or want to rewatch because you missed a part of it or a lot of feels came up and you just need to sit with it again. Use that time. Use that time to sit with it. I will be live again on Monday for our hot seat coaching. I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of the weekend and celebrate in whatever way you do for the coming 2023. Have a wonderful night.